Like if AI comes out as like this socialist whatever, it's like here's how we fix society, and it's just spouting all this stuff that the powers that be don't agree with. Do you think that will be where they're like, maybe we need to regulate this?
Well, for sure, that's already happening.
Yeah.
And I think we need to give up the ideas of ideologies and isms. I think.
Yeah, because that's a buzzword, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think any one thing by itself is not a good thing.
Sure.
I think it's like simplifying the most complex thing you can imagine. You know what I mean? So it's not just one thing. It's got to be a combination of all the things, all the isms. You know, and it doesn't even have to have a name. It just needs to work.
Yeah, elevator.
So Tom Simmons of the Dumbest Tom in the Room podcast recommended I do a segment on AI maybe once a week. So I'm going to try it out and see how it goes. If you guys like it, let me know in the comments. I'll keep doing it. You all know I'm a tech nerd, and I'm also passionate about societal issues and stuff like that. So I want to sort of tie those things in together and discuss how I think AI can contribute to solving some of our societal problems, or we can at least use it to help us get better ideas of how to solve these issues. I don't know if you guys keep up with AI a whole lot, but you know it rapidly changes. It seems like every week there's a lot of new information on AI. And new developments. It's an exponentially growing. I mean, all technology is exponential, but this seems to be more rapidly changing than than all the other technologies, and pretty soon this technology will start to deeply affect the exponential growth of the other technologies as well. But right now, I think there's a lot of confusion with the AI and how it works, and is it a threat? Is it safe? Is it not? You know, should we be
confusing to me for sure? So,
yeah. So should we be worried about it? And I don't know if I should talk to you guys directly, like to the camera, or if I should just talk to Seth. Somebody else do both.
I'll be the bridge. See, this stuff, I don't know a lot about it, and part of me has an aversion to it, which is, you know, it used to be worse, but the more you've talked about it, I've kind of came around on a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a thing. Like you said earlier, it was a tool, and I like looking at it that way instead of like, oh, it's a safety net and I rely on it. But like using it as like a feature for some, I like that idea.
It's an enhancement. You know, it's a way for us to augment ourselves to be more efficient and to interface with technology in a much more efficient manner. Because right now we just use our thumbs, and it's really slow, and it's, you know, and there's so much information, so, you know, and everything is so rapidly progressing that we need to progress with it, and I think it'll help us. You know, in the not too distant future, you could use it to run your business, you know, or to start a business. And I use it in business a lot. I use it for editing my emails, my writings. You know, if I have an idea, I like to run ideas through the models, because and right now I use Claude 3 or Claude 3.5 Sonnet. It's currently the top model, and it's incredible. You know, it's because you have, you know, these models are trained on trillions of weights of data, and a lot of it's good quality data. So you can it's a good way to get ideas and to run ideas through it, so you can kind of see, because it has access to all the data simultaneously, so it can, you know, it's like it's on a, in some ways it's on a PhD level now, but it's like thousands of PhDs simultaneously. So I, you know, you can if you have a business idea, you can just run your business idea, put all the details about what you're thinking about in the AI, and tell it to give you an opinion on it, or maybe a business plan, or some idea how you could implement that idea, and it gives you a really concise answer. I mean, it can really progress your ideas and help you take your ideas to the next level. Now, obviously, you have to do all the legwork and stuff, but we're not far from a future where I think you'll have an AI assistant on your phone that can do these things for you. You could tell it, hey, I have this business idea. How can you help me implement this idea? And it can carry out those tasks for you. You just give it your credit card information, and it does all the work.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so that's going to happen, and that's going to be pretty amazing. We're not there yet, and I think maybe that happens Well, I'd say we're not there yet. You can actually create AI agents and set up multiple agents and almost set up like a department, like in a corporation.
Mr. What's his name from Mr. Smith from Matrix.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can have a department of agents on your computer that you can run these tasks through these agents, and they have their own checks and balances. So you've got one agent that does the initial task, maybe it's programming code or something, and it'll run through the other agents to edit and check to make sure there's no problems before it comes back to you. And that way, when you get the final product, it's correct and there's no issues. So that's pretty amazing. But you kind of need to be a developer to do that sort of thing, or really understand a higher level of technology to perform those tasks today. But very soon you'll be able to just do that automatically. Like, it'll just do it for you. And I think that's good for older people too. I think one thing that people need to do is they need to really pay attention to the technology and start using it, because it will be an integral part of our lives. And I think and it's not hard to use.
You
you
don't want
just
to be the old guy who doesn't know how to use computers, even though they've been around for like 50 years.
well, that's a few years ago, I would say if you're not tech savvy and you don't understand technology, you're going to have a difficult life, especially in the next few years. But I think it's the opposite. I think it's so intuitive, and I think when it does reach that level where it can do things for you, I think you just talk to it. It's just going to be based on you communicating and articulating your ideas, and I think it'll actually help you articulate your ideas too. It'll say, maybe you tell it you want to do this thing, and it's like, okay, and then it'll ask you questions to get clarification on what you're trying to do, and it'll help you maybe better understand what you want to do or what you're trying to do. So I think for older people or people that aren't real tech savvy, I think it's going to be a very helpful tool, and I think it's going to change the complete interface with technology. I think even the idea of like opening a laptop and using a laptop to compute or do work will be sort of a thing of the past. You'll just put on a pair of AR glasses that look like just regular glasses, and you'll see a screen or screens, and you'll see the AI, and you can communicate with it and just talk to it like another human being, except it's a super intelligent entity. But the current AI models, though they seem like they're conscious beings, like they're these.
That's what I was thinking. It doesn't sound. It sounds like it's just Google on steroids. Some of it.
It depends on the model. If you're using Claude, like I use Claude 3.5 Sonnet, it's very conversational. It feels like you're communicating with another human being, like a highly intelligent human being. If you're using GPT-4 or GPT-4o, I don't think the audio. Well, the more advanced audio version of that, where you can just speak to it, is not available yet. You can speak to it, but it's not the most advanced version of it. But GPT-4 and 4o, if you're just prompting it's more analytical. It seems like more like a machine. But so different models vary on how they communicate with you. But I like the ones that are more conversational, because it's just easier to talk to them, and I feel like the ideas that they have are better. But I wanted to talk about a few things that people that I hear a lot about in AI news and just all the hype around AI. People are concerned about AI. Is it equivalent to nuclear weapons? Is it going to take over the world? Is it going to control our lives? All these things. And I would say my first answer to that is no. But also I want to talk about regulatory capture. I want to talk about OpenAI's new model that just came out recently, I think last week. It's GPT-4o Mini. I wanted to discuss AGI and Jan LeCun at Meta, and Meta's new model. So I guess we'll talk about is AI going to take over the world, and is it going to enslave all of us and destroy everything, and make us extinct? I don't think so. And Jan LeCun has discussed this before too. He's the head of AI at Meta, and he's a brilliant AI scientist. One of the top guys in the field. And he's a major proponent of open source, which I think is the most important aspect of this whole conversation. Is we should all be pushing hard for open source technology, because what you don't want to happen, and what I would be afraid of, is not AI causing a problem. It's having
Bad
just a handful of
actors.
corporations controlling all of our information, and they could control our lives through this technology, and that's what you don't want to happen. You want it to be open source, so all the developers have access to it. They can create their own models through these other models, and it'll create checks and balances. So when you do have a personal assistant in your phone and all your technology, then if there is a bad actor out there, like a bad lab or an advanced lab that creates an AI that's malevolent and wants to do you harm, it won't even reach you. Your AI assistant will filter that stuff out. Or if you have someone that's trying to give you false information by using AI that's super convincing, you'll have your own AI that'll say this is not true and this is why, and these are the sources that you can find this information.
So it's kind of like you have your own malware, I guess.
Yeah, sort of like almost like your own firewall, your AI
it's
firewall.
a better phrase, yeah.
Yeah, but it's really just you have the super intelligence that can help you find. I don't want to say the truth, but find the information about what your question is, because the truth is a subjective term. Your truth may be different than my truth, and we all have different perspectives and different ideologies. So what you want is an open source system where if you feel a certain way about something, it can tell you about all the different ways people feel about these things, about this specific issue, and maybe what these different ideas would lead to if you go down that path. So I think societally it's going to be really valuable as far as helping us solve problems, and because it like I said, it can see all the data simultaneously, so it can do things that humans just can't do. You think about the data these models are trained on. They train for about 6 months, and that 6 months of training is equivalent to like thousands of years, like 3,000 years of training. Some of these large models, and when I see people talking about, they call them AI doomers. They're talking about AI is going to destroy humanity and all this stuff, or it could. I think a lot of that is driven by corporations that are walled gardens, like OpenAI or Anthropic, and I think Anthropic.
Oh, it's so scary. You don't want this in your house. Let us just have it.
Right, yeah. Or we need regulation to make sure that people can't have access to to this type of technology.
We're doing this to protect you.
And they compare it to nuclear weapons and stuff, but I think that's nonsense. I think that what that is just regulatory capture, or an attempt for regulatory capture. I think these big companies want to create regulations where only they can have access to this technology, and we have to get it through them. And I think that's a dangerous concept. I think the idea of a few companies controlling all of our information that's terrifying. So that's why I'm really excited about what Meta did this week. They came out with their the new frontier model, Llama 3.1, and it's I think it's a 405 billion parameter model, and it's right there at the top level of the AI models, and it's completely open source. And I would credit that a lot to Jan LeCun, who was the head of their AI, and also Mark Zuckerberg. He seems to be following through with his promises that all of their AI is going to be open source. And so that was a huge change. He
doesn't want to testify before anyone ever again. So,
but I think that's a very positive step forward for all of humanity, because now all these developers and these different labs can have access to this top level technology that you have to have incredible amounts of funding just to produce, just to train these models. I think it costs them $100 billion to train that model, or maybe it's 100 million, but it's a lot of money. It's very expensive to train these models.
It's enough for if it doesn't work, it's like, well, shit, we put a lot of money in this.
Yes, and so I think that's a very big move into the right direction for all of us, and I think that it's another thing too. When you have a lot of diversity, you get better products. You have instead of just having a few hundred people working on something, you have thousands of people working on this thing, and that's thousands of minds working together to create a better option or better options.
The best idea wins.
Yeah, and there's going to be many great ideas. So, and then they'll all be able to be used together. So I think it's that's very positive. So I wouldn't worry about AI taking over or controlling your life. I'd be worried about corporations controlling your life, or politicians.
Which is what they've always been trying to do.
Yeah, and I know it's a little conspiracy theorist, but and it's not that we have any reason to question anything today. But
yeah, I think that years ago people would probably call you a conspiracy theorist,
Right,
but
yeah.
now it's like, okay, yeah.
I think it's just a reasonable way to think about it. And
I think most people have a healthy distrust of corporations now.
yes, of power. Any concentrated power is never a great thing. And so I admire the way Meta's handling this technology. Also, these models are massive. They are very expensive to operate. I think it costs something like $15 for every million tokens on like something like Claude or GPT-4.
What are tokens?
Tokens are like parts of words.
Okay.
Or parts of sentences.
Yeah.
And so they're very expensive to operate. And if you're doing like coding and stuff with them, they can get extraordinarily expensive. So OpenAI came out with a model last week called GPT-4o Mini, and it's a model that's so small you could actually put it on your own computer. Obviously you need a nice computer to run it, but it's still small to put on a local computer, a local machine, and completely operate it offline. And then you can set those models like that up where you can, if it needs to access one of the large models, it can. But the good thing about that is if you own a small business or just any kind of business, and you're worried about people having access to your information, internal information, then that gives you some protection, or a lot of protection, because it can be completely internal, and it can still do all these processes, and it's not as good as these larger models, but it's really good for basic stuff. And a lot of developers are going to start using it. I am excited to see the next iteration of these models when just anyone with a small business can use it, to help with marketing.
Yeah, because it's a lot of the small businesses. How do you compete with huge corporations?
Right. Yeah. So I think that's a really positive thing. And hopefully Meta will come out with something that's open source soon. Well, they do have a new small model, but it's not as good as GPT-4o Mini. But and also there's some misconception about how about are these models conscious, about AGI, and but there's also some misconception about AGI and how close we are. Well, I wouldn't say misconceptions. There's not a consensus on when we'll reach AGI. Some people say this year. Some people say next year.
What's AGI again?
Artificial General Intelligence.
That's it. Yeah.
Which means that's an AI system that can do everything that humans can do on the level of an expert across the board, mental or physical. So it's, and we are going to reach that. I'm just not sure if it's going to be in 2 years or if it's going to be in 10 years. Probably within a decade, maybe by the end of this decade. And I think we'll have models between now and then that will seem like AGI. It's kind of like Tesla was with full self-driving. Elon's saying that he thinks they'll have full self-driving really soon. And to me, that's a little bit confusing, because there are full self-driving models. There are completely unmanned taxis available in
Just
certain.
comes down to definitions. Everybody has a
Right.
different definition.
Yeah, but I think I think I think when the AI models can reason, because they can't really reason yet. They can a little bit, but it's not like a human level of reasoning. It's more like finding, because language models just find the most likely word to complete a sentence, and based on all the data. So if the AI models are using really good data, they make really good decisions. But if it's something this novel, like they haven't been trained on it, it's kind of a new idea, a new thing, it could even hallucinate and just make up something.
Yeah.
And
It's
from
like a little kid trying to, do so. They just make stuff up in their head. Like,
right,
why does
and
this moon follow me?
yeah. So and that's progressing exponentially too. So they're solving those issues, and I haven't really ran into much of those problems recently, over the past few months, even where it gives me some insane response. Like
How often do you use AI a day? What'd you say?
several times a day. Yeah, I mean I use it more than I do Google search.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I basically use it as my search now.
You don't get recommended stuff at the top.
Right.
That's has nothing to do with what you're looking for.
And I use Poe also. If you want to get into using AI and you want to use it for business or creativity or whatever, Poe's a good resource. It gives you access to all the top models, even as they come out. Like I already have access to Meta's new model through Poe, and it's $20 a month. It's a really good app to use, and you can use it on your computer too. You use it on your phone or your computer, and it's always linked. So if I want to continue something, I'm
Just right back where you were.
yeah, I can just do it on my phone. But so AGI is, and I think we can reach AGI without the model being self-aware. I think, another thing about these models is they can be.
Do some people want it to be self-aware? Do you want it to be self-aware? Like if AI was like, I'm alive, I have a soul, would you want that, or would you just want it to be where it's like a tool?
I think I'm agnostic on that.
Okay.
I don't think it really matters. I mean,
I like the tool idea.
I like the tool idea,
Better.
because if it is self-aware, if it is conscious, and then it starts to want things that we don't want,
Yeah.
then what do? You can't just kill it because then it's alive.
Yeah.
So I do like, but I think we're gonna have different levels of these systems too that we can always use, and I think, and the systems are already being used to design and develop themselves. I think the main thing is that they're designed to benefit humanity and not go against humans. So I think they shouldn't be able to make any decision that would harm another person. And so and it looks like it's headed that direction. I am excited about some of the research options. I know there's a new research model they're using at Stanford. I can't think of the name of it right off, but it's, but that's pretty exciting. It's going to be an AI researcher, and then, so pretty soon we'll have models that can combine all the different sciences, and so if you're trying to figure out how to solve a problem, or you're trying to make new discoveries, it's not just a physics expert. It's a physics expert, a biology expert, a mathematician. It's
And
all these
hopefully something about ethics in there too.
ethics. Yeah, it's all the different fields combined. So it's an expert in everything, and it has access to all the data. So it's going to find novel solutions that we could never come up with. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah. I also I need to ask this question to Meta's new AI model, but I asked you guys that have seen the Creative Businessmen podcast before. You've seen some of my positions on societal issues and things like that, and I feel like one of our biggest problems in society today is that everything's driven by profit. And I love capitalism. I think capitalism is great. It creates competition. It creates opportunity, and there's a lot of positive things to it. But I think unregulated capitalism becomes something else. I think it becomes some form of corporatism where it's like there's no bottom up regulation. It's all top down regulation. So eventually, corporations just obtain all the market shares, and they control everything. So I think in order to create a balance, we need to restructure some of the ways the system works. Like I have a big problem with medicine being driven by profit. I feel like all medical research should be done by nonprofit, and the scientists working for those nonprofits should have no financial incentives from corporations. And the way you solve that is you pay those scientists really well.
Yeah.
Same thing in
I'm trying to
politics.
save the world. Give me food, at least while I try to do it.
Right. Yeah. And the same thing in politics. If you want to get the corruption out of politics, you've got to take the financial incentives away. And you take the financial incentives away by giving financial incentives. Politicians should make a lot of money. It's a very difficult job, and it's a massive responsibility, and so it should be given to people that are qualified for the job. But also, we should have systems in place that decorrupt the system. That
like prevent it from even happening. It's like why would I do insider baseball on Wall Street? I'm making whatever and
right.
I'm fine.
Yeah, you're making
But I mean, people are always going to be greedy, so
that's true. But you just if you eliminate those temptations, then it solves a lot of those problems. I think you get different people in politics too. I think it'll attract a different type of person, and more people that actually care about solving society's solutions instead of increasing their bank account.
Yeah.
Or just assisting corporations because they're getting paid by them. But I asked Claude 3.5 Sonnet to give me some ideas of how it would improve society and fix some of these issues within our society. I think the number one issue in society is poverty. I think it's really messed up that if you are willing to contribute 40 hours of your work of your life to a company or to society to do a job, whether it's sweeping a floor or running a cash register or whatever you do, these entry level jobs, and that's not enough. That doesn't provide you enough money to meet your basic human needs. I think that's a form of slavery. I think if you're doing a job that you hate, but you have to do that job to pay your bills to survive, and it's still not enough to help you survive, that's a form of slavery. And I don't think if you're working for a small business and you're sweeping floors or running a cash register, I don't think that small business, at least the way the system is structured currently,
it's like society's holding you for ransom.
Yeah, because that small business is competing against large corporations that have tons of resources. They get their products cheaper. They can sell them cheaper, so how do you compete against them? It's almost impossible. And then how do you pay your employees? You can't pay them $20, $30 an hour, because it'll bankrupt you. So I think to solve those issues, we need to use different forms of currencies. We need to have different regulations to regulate the cost of products themselves. I think our products are way overpriced. I think they blame it on inflation, but it's more than inflation. It's a form of price gouging.
Someone's making it inflate.
Well, yeah, corporations can control how much things cost because they control resources.
Inflation like it's the wind. It's inflation. It's like somebody's pulling the strings to do that.
So prices went up 50% in 3 months.
That's the wind.
Yeah.
That's New York, baby.
And also, you don't have to get more profits every quarter unless you're creating new products. Your profits should be a reward of you creating something new and something innovative that does well and people want to use it. And so I think we need regulation to regulate the cost of raw materials and resources all the way up through the margins of pricing. And if people don't have enough money to survive, then that means the prices are too high. The goods are too expensive. And so, but we can offset those things through things like cryptocurrencies and blockchain technologies and incentives. As far as if we could societally, we could say if you're contributing a certain amount of your time every week to some work, because we need clean floors. If you're just sweeping floors, it should still meet your basic human needs, and because we need clean floors, and so I think we could use this technology to help us solve these problems since it does have access to all the data. It can run, and eventually it'll be able to run simulations to show us exactly how this would work and what it would look like. I don't think it's quite at that level yet.
So are you like nervous that if it like AI does get to that point where it can solve that, do you think corporations will try to what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of silence it. It's like, oh no, okay. Like if AI comes out as like this socialist whatever, it's like here's how we fix society, and it's just spouting all this stuff that the powers that be don't agree with. Do you think that will be where they're like, maybe we need to regulate this?
Well, for sure, that's already happening.
Yeah.
And I think we need to give up the ideas of ideologies and isms. I think.
Yeah, because that's a buzzword, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think any one thing by itself is not a good thing.
Sure.
I think it's like simplifying the most complex thing you can imagine. You know what I mean? So it's not just one thing. It's got to be a combination of all the things, all the isms. You know, and it doesn't even have to have a name. It just needs to work.
Yeah, elevator pitches for any isms sound bad. It's
Yes.
like, describe capitalism in 5 seconds.
And they
Well, that
all
sounds
lead to
terrible.
negative things. They all lead
Yeah.
to suffering. And because in all those different systems, there's usually one concentrated power or group of people that are benefiting from that system. And whereas we're all the society, we should all benefit from the system and the society. We should all be working together. And it doesn't mean there can't be a meritocracy. It means if you do, you know, if you're willing to suffer in a positive way and really accomplish things and master certain things, yeah, be rewarded for it. That's fine. But also, we need to make sure people aren't suffering in a negative way through poverty and those types of issues. You know,
suffering should lead to like growth. Like misery just leads to nothing.
what's
You know
like
what I mean?
politicians always address symptoms of problems and never the problem itself. Because if you address the symptom of the problem, you don't have to solve the problem. That's what prisons are. Prisons are a way for them for our society to sweep our problems under the rug. You know, if someone is suffering so badly they start behaving badly, we just throw them in a prison. But maybe we could say, well, why are these people behaving this way? They're just people. You know, if you have a certain concentrated area of people that are committing a lot of crimes and using a lot of drugs, there's nothing different about those people. They're just suffering, and so that's just that's an expression of suffering. And you know, when you hear it in art, you see it in art, or hear it in art. Music and art, it's all an expression of different elements of society. And if you see a lot of negative art, that means there's a lot of negative suffering in the society. It's just an expression of that suffering. And that's one of people don't just abuse drugs. They abuse drugs when they're hurting.
Yeah, the painting Guernica doesn't look happy for a reason.
Right. And you know, I grew up in a blue collar family. My parents worked really hard, and they worked in blue collar jobs and in manufacturing, and they suffered. You know, and they barely made enough money to provide any kind of life. You know, they were basically slaves for these systems. You know, and I think we can do a better job. And I think even spreading out the way we use resources, I think we're poor stewards of our resources. Instead of just, you know, a few companies controlling all the food, we should have thousands of companies controlling the foods. Communities should control their own food. We should have community gardens in all communities to make sure that we have quality soil and quality.
Yeah, the people who live here should be the one, because that's where I grew up in West Virginia. It's like the people who don't live in where I live were like, yeah, we'll put the chemical plant right here, upriver from the water treatment plant. It's like, you guys don't even they went there once, and it's like the people who aren't affected by their decisions are making the decisions.
It's like cobalt mining. You know, they just do cobalt mining in the Congo, and they have slaves doing the cobalt mining. That's in all of our phones. So we're all supporting slavery. Like real slavery, like really harsh conditions for children. And those people aren't meeting their basic needs. But guess what? There's cobalt all over the world. We don't just have to mine it in one place. Like if you went to get a massage and that massage therapist is just digging in on one place on your back the whole time for an hour and a half, that's not going to feel good. That's like, just spread that shit out, you know, like make it, we need to properly.
That's a great analogy.
There's enough, our planet is massive. And there are more than enough resources on the planet to solve all of our issues and to use, and we can use those resources in much better ways. But I think we can use this technology to help us do that. And I wanted to read the response I got from Claude 3.5 Sonnet, because I thought it was pretty incredible. It's a profound response. I think
this is the response on how to fix society, right?
Yeah, so I asked it, if given the task, how would you solve these types of societal problems that some of these I just mentioned, specifically with the idea of creating policies with the well-being of every individual in society as a priority, also considering our current advancements in technology. And it said, given the task of solving societal issues like poverty with the well-being of every individual as a priority and considering current technological advancements, I would propose a multifaceted approach. And it gave me an outline of potential solutions. It said, number one, universal basic income, UBI. Implement a UBI program leveraging blockchain technology for efficient distribution. And that's what I've talked about a lot too, is I don't think just a UBI, I don't think just giving people money just for being citizens is the right idea, but I think an incentive-based UBI program where if you show that you're contributing a certain number of hours of your time a week to the society, then you should receive these incentives, and it would solve these financial problems that families face. And you could use blockchain technologies to do that. You could create multiple currencies, and we saw that with cryptocurrencies. It's all our imagination. This whole construct is something we've created out of our imaginations, and I think we need to use our imaginations better.
Yeah.
And I think with cryptocurrencies, we just created new currencies that are valuable, and they're valuable because we believe in them, and we can do the same thing with this. We can do the same thing in this situation with a UBI. With cryptocurrencies or blockchain technologies.
So like how would cryptocurrency, how would that make it different? You know,
you could create currencies based on medical needs. So maybe if you're contributing,
I got my hospital money.
Yeah, like if you're contributing 30 or 40 hours a week, I think 30 hours a week should be the maximum that you'd have to contribute.
Yeah.
Because I think it's highly important if you want to have a healthy society that people in the society are able to figure out what they're good at, find their strengths and their weaknesses. Also, I think it's important to be able to spend time with your family and your loved ones. I think that's part of being a healthy society. If you spend all your time just slaving at a job that you hate or at jobs that you hate, so you spend the majority of your time just working and then sleeping, and you still are barely making it, you're not a healthy member of society. You're going to start using drugs. You're going to be angry all the time. You're probably going to You may start committing violent crimes because those are expressions of suffering, and it's not a good suffering. There's positive suffering is doing something difficult that makes you better, and so I think, but you could have blockchain technology. You could have currencies that cover your medical expenses or food expenses. All these different elements of society that you could use those currencies in, and that would also help prevent people from wasting. Because financial management's difficult, and especially if you're not used to it. And it's like when people win the lottery, they go bankrupt in a few years because they don't know how to manage their finances. And so this would help manage your finances. And also, and maybe all the money that you make from your job is just extra money. The rest of it comes from these different currencies that meet all your basic needs. So you've got transportation money. And pretty soon we'll have fully autonomous vehicles within 5 years probably, I would imagine. We'll have level 5 autonomy. So you have, completely autonomous vehicles that if you have a Tesla, when you're not using that Tesla, it's out doing ride shares for you and it's giving people rides. And I think you'll probably have a system where you can just pay a monthly fee and get unlimited rides. And so with a system like this, you could receive a blockchain currency just for transportation that you could use to pay for that monthly fee. That would give you unlimited transportation. And so if you have a society where you have unlimited transportation, you have a healthy society. And the older people don't have to worry about, like we all see old people on the road that shouldn't be on the road. It's terrifying. Like somebody's 80 some years old, they're gonna cause an accident, and they're putting their life at risk and other people's lives at risk. But if they're in the back of an autonomous vehicle, then everybody's fine. There's no more DUIs. I think 30,000 people on average die a year from auto accidents. And I just recently read a study where the average vehicle is involved in a car accident every 200,000 miles. The average Tesla is in an accident. The average Tesla, when being used autonomously, is in an accident only once every 1,000,000 miles. So autonomous technology is exponentially safer than than us, than we
I'm
are.
not like a data expert, but could that data also be because it hasn't been around that long?
No, it takes into account that.
Okay.
It takes that into account.
Okay.
There's a lot of data on fully autonomous vehicles now too, and that's just going to get better. As that technology improves exponentially, that will exponentially get better. Also, I think auto accidents will be really rare in the future. Mostly, it will be animals causing accidents,
Assholes.
or maybe it could be natural events. Stuff like lands, mudslides, rock slides, things that we just can't control.
Acts of God.
Yes, yeah. So it'll be way safer to get around. And then it also said amount adjusted based on local cost of living, funded through a combination of tax reform, reallocation of existing welfare spending, and technology-driven efficiency gains. And I think technology-driven efficiency gains is a big part of it too, because pretty soon you will have a PhD level assistant in your pocket on your phone that can help you as like a life coach. It'll really be your employee. It'll be your personal assistant. It'll be like you're the corporation and it's the CEO. And it's running your company for you, which is your life. And it'll help you gain more resources in your life. Like I said, it's a tool, and as a regular citizen, it's a tool. As an artist, it's a magic paintbrush. It's all these things, but it is a tool, and it's just a very powerful tool, and it's also a tool that levels the field. So if you have a low IQ today, you're just screwed. Like you have no opportunities. Like if your IQ is, really below 100, your life's going to be a lot harder for you. But if you have a thing in your pocket, an assistant that has an IQ of 200 plus, and it's also the equivalent of maybe thousands of 200 plus IQs.
Are scary though. That could be a concern. A dumb person who doesn't know how to wield the knowledge that they're given.
Well, there's going to be, it knows though.
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, it'll know if you're dumb.
Yeah.
So it'll tell you if this is a bad idea, and it's not going to let you hurt other people. So I think that's the key. Is we create these technologies in a way that it doesn't it values the life of each individual person and the lives of other people around you. So it's it's like it can almost turn into a glue that brings society together.
I was thinking like if AI could also like if some incel dude was using it and AI was like, women don't like you because of this, and then it would be
yeah, it could do that.
It could be, yeah,
because it'll be indiscernible from a human being, and whether it's conscious or not, I don't know. And it could be conscious in a different way too. It could be a higher level of consciousness.
AI is going to get so busy telling people that it's not the Jews. That's gonna be all it does for like the first 3 years. It's like, okay, it's not the Jews. It is it. That's all it's gonna do.
Or it could say, Palestinians are real people too.
Yeah.
So it will definitely, I think, solve a lot of conflicts, or have the ability to solve conflicts. Because if you really solve these issues, if you fix the root of these problems, then that solves most conflict. Because conflict is really just it's a struggle for resources. And if there's an abundance of resources, there's no
fear of not having enough.
Yeah, it's scarcity mentality, and that's
a better term.
That's the root cause of the 99% of our problems. So if there's an abundance and we become good stewards of our resources through our technological capabilities, then suddenly a lot of our problems become meaningless. Like having power becomes pointless. It's because we all have a decent life. You know what I mean? And if you want to if you're an artist and you create art that people really appreciate, they'll buy it from you. You can do a little better. You can have extra things. But also, I think if we have these capabilities of doing things in a certain way and doing them on a really high level, that should be the standard. I think we're wasting resources on cheap things when we should be making everything high quality and better. And I think that improves everybody's life. And sure, there's a faction of society that.
But making good stuff is hard.
Yeah, but also there's a faction of society that I think enjoys having while other people don't, and I think that's a problem too.
A sick version of that. Yeah.
It's a narcissistic thing, and I think you should have if you want an abundance, you should have it. Like you should
Yeah.
you should be able to obtain it.
You shouldn't get your rocks off just because someone else doesn't have
Yeah,
it. Like
right.
a Daniel Plainview look of the world.
Right. Absolutely. So then it went into educational reform. Free education from early childhood through higher education or vocational training. All education should be free.
Yeah.
From grade school through university.
Yeah.
It should all be. Why would suddenly, if education is free through high school and you can take really difficult courses in high school, some of those courses are college courses, then why do those courses suddenly cost you maybe $40,000 a semester after high school or a year or whatever? It doesn't make any sense. It's just information. Information should be freely given and distributed through society because that's what makes us better. An educated society will most definitely be way healthier. So free education and schools, and not just, let's say, well, these Ivy League schools or these really nice universities are really nice. It costs a lot of money to make. Yeah, invest in our people. All universities should be nice, like extraordinarily nice. You should be able to go to that school and do anything you want to do, or maybe have certain schools that maybe have a focus in a certain area, concentration in like art or biology or chemistry or physics or whatever.
It's pay to win, and that's not fair. That's not fun games.
Yeah, and if you like I know some real dummies that went to college because they had wealthy parents.
Oh yeah.
And they have good degrees, but also if you grow up poor, it's very difficult to put yourself through school, especially a nice school, unless you just have
be like so poor the college is like, damn, you're poor. Come here.
Or so intelligent that they want you, and but if you're just average intelligence, good luck. It's going to be you're not going to be able to go to a really nice school, or if you do, it's going to be almost impossible.
Yeah.
And then personalized learning using AI to adapt to individual needs and learning styles, which is so. I feel like in the not too distant future, maybe the next 5-10 years, you'll be able to have an education that is catered to you and your specific interests and predispositions.
Yeah.
So like, and it should start at elementary school.
If you're a visual learner or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Like with my daughter, like when
that.
I see her show interest in something and she has aptitude for that thing, I encourage her to do that. And I really push her to do that thing and invest her time into that thing because that's something she's naturally interested in. Like she's attracted to doing that thing. So she's already able to identify some of her talents and her abilities at a young age because she has resources. And every child should have that same opportunity. That's what elementary schools should have. They should be more like Montessori type schools where you have lots of different options of study and you can start identifying what people are good at a young age and kind of push those kids in that direction. Sure, you need to still do things you don't want to do just because it expands your mind, but your main focus should be in that primary area that you're interested in. And so, like, if you do have a kid that's a really good artist, maybe they shouldn't have to take calculus. You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Or if they don't have an aptitude for math, then find the area that they're good at and push them in that direction and really, make them suffer in a positive way to learn that thing that they're good at. But that's where we should be pushing them, not some cookie-cutter system where everybody does the same stuff. You're doing things you're not good at.
Oh, you don't like this thing? Something is wrong with
Right.
them. That's how it makes you feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you might think it's weird that someone doesn't like tomatoes.
Yeah.
But they just don't like tomatoes.
You don't make them go to tomato class every
right.
day. Yeah.
Well, we're just going to eat tomatoes every day from now on. Like, so it's, so I think that's a valuable idea. Focus on digital literacy, critical thinking, and adaptable skills for the future job market. So there is some concern that AI will take all human jobs, and I think it looks like it may.
Oh, no. Who will work at McDonald's?
I think all the current human jobs will be able to be done with AI systems. But I don't think that means that we don't have to be involved. I think that just means that your AI it'll do the task in society that needs to be done for you, but you can still be a part of that process and monitor that AI and make sure it's doing it in a way that humans want it done because we live in a human society. And also, I think it can just be a way where maybe the AI is going to work for you. It's doing your job for you, but you're doing something you're really interested in. Maybe you're woodworking or painting, or maybe you're whatever your interest is. You know, you're doing that thing that you really want to do, and that's bringing value to your life. Maybe it's just spending time with your family. You know, and that's not a bad thing. If you want a positive, healthy society, well, I don't think there's anything better than having an educated society where there's no crime and no poverty. And you can find purpose in a lot of different ways. Lifelong learning programs for continual skill development, I think that's important. I think you should always be learning anyway. I think the reason most people don't continue learning is because they're suffering and they're doing something they don't want to do, but they have to do it because they're trying to survive. And then when they get done doing that thing, they're just completely exhausted by it, and they don't want to learn anything new because they just want to get through the next day, and then maybe be able to enjoy the weekend. And I think that's a really unhealthy way of life. It's not living. It's
like it drains the essence of you that makes you a human.
Right.
And it's like, okay, I gave my human hours to Walmart today. Now I'm exhausted, you know?
Right. Yeah. But
I can't play with my kids or whatever. You
yeah.
know?
And you know, continual learning is great for your mind. It prevents Alzheimer's, and there's tons of studies that show that it prevents dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff like that, and other disease. You know, any disease like cancer and all this stuff, a lot of that stuff is caused from just negative suffering. It's dis-ease. Like your body is not at ease, so you're constantly under this heavy stress and anxiety, and that's going to make you sick. It's going to disease your body.
Yeah, dude, stress like kills you.
Yeah, it will kill you. And so we're, you know, there was a recent,
and not in the corny way. I mean, it will literally make your organs stop working.
Yes, yeah, you will die early. and there was a recent seminar with Ray Kurzweil. He was talking about anti-aging and some of the genetic technologies with age reversal and life extension, and he said that by 2029 or 2030 we're going to reach what they call death escape velocity, where you can so by 2030 you'll be able to add a year to your life.
Yeah.
And that will be an exponential change. So it's a year, that year it's a year, and then the next year will be 2 years, and then 4 years, and then 8 years, and continual.
And then only animals and acts of God will. I was thinking if we get to a point where we live so long and then someone dies, it's like, well, God really didn't like him, you know? Like
right.
Something has to really happen to kill you.
Yeah. And that's something Elon Musk has talked about too, is the threat of actually having too few people in society, because the more minds we have, the better we are, and the more capable we are. So, and then you got to consider, like, if we have these machine systems that can do all this stuff for us, maybe we don't need as many people. But I think it's important to have a lot of people, because I think it keeps a balance and it
newer, fresh ideas.
Yes,
it's always cycling. Because if the same people are doing the same thing forever and no one new is thrown in, it's like, well, we're never gonna.
Right, and I do think that eventually we start to maybe escape biology, but that's, you know, I think that's a pretty good ways away. But maybe that's what happens. Maybe we become immoral, and then we start to merge with technology, and we become non-biological, and we're just minds, and we can inhabit any bodies we want. You know what I mean? We can inhabit technological, you know,
maybe
biotech.
We already did that.
Maybe that's what we are. You know, there's that theory. There's a theory that we're just self-replicating nanotechnology. Which is possible. You know, it's not any more weird than all the shit we know already.
All the other ones are weird.
Yeah.
It's just this one you told me about later in my life.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So then healthcare. So its ideas for healthcare were universal healthcare systems with a focus on preventative care. It's a big problem today. None of our healthcare is preventative. It's always after the fact. Like, we don't address problems until they show up, and by the time a problem
punished for it.
Yeah, by the time a problem shows up, it's maybe too late to deal with it or turn it around. Also, a lot of people don't go to the doctor because they can't afford it. I just went to the ER recently because I have AFib now. I got diagnosed with AFib, and even with the best insurance policy I can get through Blue Cross and Blue Shield, it still costs me over $2,000.
Yeah.
And most families can't afford that. You know, that's
no, yeah.
and so I think that's insane. Like, and I pay $1,000 a month for mine and my daughter's insurance. My wife has insurance through the company she works for, but
Yeah,
insurance.
you're paying for something and then you get nothing from it, and then whenever something does happen, you get punished.
And a few years ago, I used to pay $200 a month, and I got incredible coverage that would have covered 100% of that visit. And we were convinced that the affordable healthcare program was going to be a better option for everybody, but it's the same people are insured now,
Yeah.
except we pay more and we get less, and then if you don't pay, you get taxed. So it's not a better system. It's just corporate manipulation. It's like they constantly are gaslighting us to tell us that they're working for us, but no, they don't give a shit about us. They want to make those profits, and I think that's a conflict of interest.
It's like you were getting medicine all the time. They were giving you a spoon of medicine, and then they switched it to a gun, and you're like, wait, what is this?
Right.
It's medicine.
But regardless of which side of that argument you want to stand on, healthcare should be free for everybody in the society. If we can do these things, if we have the capabilities to solve these problems, to cure diseases or heal people, it should be just a part of being a member of the society. You should have access to these things. Utilize AI and machine learning for early diagnosis and personal treatment plans. So I can see in the future, I think your own personal AI will be able to diagnose you with things. I think it'll be able to scan your body and we'll probably have some kind of nanotechnologies that live inside our bodies too that constantly monitor our health. And you see it today. It's external. You know, your Apple Watches and stuff like that. People have all kinds of devices, rings and stuff that monitor your health and kind of keep an idea, keep you informed about how your body's functioning and operating. But I think in just a few years we'll have robotic systems in hospitals and doctors' offices that will be doing your exams, and they'll be doing much more proficient, they'll be much more efficient than humans. And so I think if you're worried about that cost, it'll almost be free. You know, and that's another thing about the way technology is exponential and the way it's advancing and where we are today with technology and with AI, which will probably even speed up that exponential growth, is that our ability to do these things will be almost free. Like the cost of medical care and really any kind of work will be almost non-existent. And it's just like, for example, using these large language models is very expensive. They run off these huge GPUs and they use a lot of energy and a lot of power, but then now they're figuring out ways within just a few years of how to get almost the same results out of much smaller, more efficient models that are basically free. And it'll be like that with all technology. It'll become more and more efficient as it becomes more advanced, and so that'll help solve a lot of these problems too. Telemedicine to improve access in rural and underserved areas. Maybe. I think this technology is so rapid, I think it'll just bypass telemedicine. I think you just have your own AI that you can just ask, hey, I don't feel good. What could be wrong with me? And it can see you, and maybe you have some kind of
diagnose that.
Yeah, you have monitors or something. It can just diagnose you, or at least tell you if you need to go to a hospital. Mental health services integrated into primary care, which mental health services should be free.
It feels weird that they're separate. Like if you go on an insurance site, it's like, what kind of care are you looking for? Mental health, and it's just like, I wish that
it's just health care.
Yeah,
it's all health.
Like that's part. It's also the weird way that insurance companies separate dental and eye from your regular. It's like that's still part of me.
If you're genuinely considering killing yourself, you're not healthy. Healthcare should include that. Housing. Implement a housing-first approach to homelessness. Use 3D printing and other advanced construction techniques to rapidly build affordable housing. Smart city planning to create mixed-income communities with access to services and jobs. And I've been talking about this since we started this show. We have these incredible technologies where we can build things rapidly. We can, if things weren't all controlled by these big companies, you could have community farms. You could have vertical farms in every community owned by that community, or at least owned by the company that developed that community or whatever, and people in the community could work there live there. And it would be much more sustainable. You won't have all the packaging waste. You won't have to have all the farming done in one place. It'll be healthier because we have a soil problem. Our soil's not healthy because we have all these monocrops, and our meats aren't healthy because we have all these hormones. But just you have these concentrated farms with thousands of cattle in one place, or thousands of chickens. You could have a community with vertical farms that would serve that community. You could have free roaming chickens on that farm, and so everybody in that community has eggs. So you don't have all this plastic waste from eggs, and it could it's like a self-sustaining community. Every roof in that community could be solar powered, so it's very energy efficient. You could 3D print all the houses, so that they would be more robust and also a lot cheaper to construct, and still super nice. Still have granite countertops, and also integrate these communities with nature. Don't destroy nature to put the houses in. Like, carefully,
where are all the trees?
Strategically place the houses within nature.
Yeah.
Because nature makes us feel better.
Yeah.
And it's better for
like
us.
We're supposed to be there.
Yeah. So make it look like it's supposed to be there. And so I think we can do these things. Actually, in fact, I would like to do these things myself. I've looked into maybe starting a company doing these types of projects. Job creation and economic development. Invest in green technology and infrastructure to create jobs and address climate change. And listen, climate change is it's definitely a complicated and politically fueled issue, which it shouldn't be. One of our top priorities should be being good stewards of our resources and of the planet, because it is what we live on and it's what we grew out of. We are intrinsically a part of this planet. And if you don't want to take care of the planet, then you don't want to take care of yourself. If you don't want to hurt your body, then you shouldn't want to hurt the planet. You should want to be a good steward of this planet, because right now it's the only place we can live. If we destroy this thing, there's nowhere to go. And I think eventually we will move outward and expand, but we should still take care of this thing. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, when we expand, it should be like, oh, let's go see what's out here, instead of, holy shit, we got to get out of here.
Right.
But
the best way to address things like climate change is addressing these other issues. If you eliminate poverty and you create a healthy society, that society will be able to care about the planet. If people are suffering and they're just trying to survive, they don't give a shit about the planet, because they don't feel like anybody gives a shit about them, and they don't give a shit about them either. Like, they're just suffering, they're dying, and so if we solve these problems, I think these other issues get solved along the way. And we are developing technologies that are way better. Like, solar technology is way better. Who wouldn't want to have a solar roof on their house and not have a power bill?
Power company doesn't.
But power should be
power
should be legal. I mean, it should be free rather, because we have nuclear technology, which is the cleanest, most efficient technology, and we have ways to make it even better now. It should all be nuclear technology, because there's no pollution, there's no emissions, and it's almost a self-sustaining technology. So we should just all have access to power. Power should be free. It should be just a part of society. And
it's like charging people for being in the sun,
or for air.
Yeah, which they might do someday. Who knows?
Well, hopefully it'll go the opposite way. Hopefully
Yeah.
power will be free. But
Yeah.
but imagine a society where there's no power lines. I live in a
Nice.
neighborhood with no power lines. It's nice.
Squirrels would get bored.
But they also would
they'd
get
have the
fried on
trees.
power lines.
Yeah, they'd have their trees.
um,
Where would I throw my shoes?
right. Yeah. Well, you wouldn't be doing that anymore.
That's true. Yeah.
So that would be better. And so I those types of issues would be solved by solving these deeper issues. Let's see. Use AI use AI to optimize crop management and reduce food waste, which I just talked about that. Which you could use AI to manage the the community gardens. People that are into gardening would want to work in those gardens, and we should let them. There's people that just love gardening, and there's people in every community that love gardening, and that should meet all their basic needs and maybe more. And it even says community gardens and food education programs, healthier foods. Like, let's get rid of processed foods. Have your sweets and stuff, and those splurge foods, the really bad but great tasting foods, but don't make that like the main food source.
Don't make that the only thing you can get at some.
It's just poison.
Yeah.
If we're all eating fast food, we're just all getting sick because it's not real food. It's just eating contaminated. It's not even food. It's not healthy.
Food product. That's what they call it.
We need whole food. And spreading out the farming and evenly amongst all of us solves the mass farming issue and gives us better quality food. We get nutrients that we need. Criminal justice reform. This is another big one. Like I said earlier, I feel like prisons are just a way for society to sweep our problems under the rug instead of addressing what's causing those problems. Focus on rehabilitation rather than punishment, 100%. And I'm not saying if somebody's hurt somebody in your family, you don't want to kill them. I would too. But you still have to disconnect yourself from that issue and say, why are these people behaving this way? Why is there a disproportionate number of people in this community killing people?
Because my brother was an asshole.
Right. But I think we have to stop thinking at a surface level and dig deeper and say, what is the root cause of this problem? You can't keep putting Band-Aids on a festering wound. It's gonna keep festering and get more and more infected, and it's gonna kill the whole society. So you got to heal the problem from the root cause of. You got to go in there and do surgery, and you got to say, well, it looks like poverty's creating some problems, so let's fix the poverty. And that's why you don't see crime in wealthy neighborhoods, or as much. It's pretty rare. That's why you have safe neighborhoods and dangerous neighborhoods. The safe neighborhoods aren't the neighborhoods where people are poor.
Yeah, I want to live in the neighborhood where the only bad thing that happens is the white dad with the jet ski goes crazy and kills his family in the middle of the night. That's where I want to live.
And that shouldn't happen either.
Yeah.
What's causing that?
And then he gets away with it.
Well, but there's something that's causing that thing too. That's still a surface level problem. What's the root of that? What caused that dude to behave that way? There's something deeper there. And that's why we shouldn't have prisons. We should have rehabilitation centers, and they should be designed to figure out what's causing the problem, and to heal the people it can heal, and then to separate the people that it can't heal from society, but not torture them. We take dangerous animals and put them in nice zoos, but we take dangerous humans and put them in cages.
Yeah,
and in bad conditions with other dangerous humans. It's like you don't put the lions in the same cage with the bears. Those dudes are going to fight each other, and so it's we can do a better job. And I think if you solve poverty, you solve most of that problem anyway. I think the crime would almost be non-existent. And you see it in better countries where they have better societies, where they have less poverty, they have way less crime. The data supports that solution. Use predictive analytics to address root causes of crime. What's causing this behavior? And we can do that today. Decriminalize drug use and treat addiction as a health issue. So I have a big problem with this too. I think it's a free society. You should be able to put whatever you want in your body. You should be able to put anything you want in your body. If you want to take a drug, you should be able to take a drug. It shouldn't. I don't think another human can tell you what you can or can't do with your own body. But also, healthy people don't abuse drugs. They're not doing heroin. Like people that are doing well, they don't just want to do heroin and
it's an escape.
And pain pills and stuff. It's an escape. It's because in our society today, they're like, hey, don't use those drugs. I know you're suffering, but don't use those drugs. But I'm taking these drugs because they make me not feel this pain I'm in. Yeah, but you're not allowed to take those drugs. You have to feel the pain. And if you don't want to feel the pain, we're going to show you more pain. It's like, what? That makes no sense. Like you're in pain, so you're taking drugs because you're in pain, but you're not allowed to take those drugs, so we're going to put you in more pain to teach you not to stop that pain.
I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, it's insane. It's almost it's diabolical. It's masochistic.
Yeah.
It's that's a sickness of its own right there. So decriminalize drug use and treat addiction as a health issue, and solving poverty fixes most of that problem there too. Digital infrastructure, ensure universal high-speed internet access, develop a secure digital identity system for easier access to services. I'm a little iffy on that one. Depends on who's controlling that system.
Yeah.
Invest in quantum computing research for breakthrough solutions to complex problems. When we do have fully functional quantum systems, they'll be able to simulate anything. So we'll be able to do all of our research, medical research, technological research. All of our research will be done in some virtual simulation. No more testing on animals or people or any of that stuff, and we'll be able to do it instantaneously. Like we'll be creating new novel technologies every second. Solutions to all problems almost instantaneously. That's probably the singularity that probably will happen in the 2040s. Governance and transparency. Implement blockchain-based voting systems to increase participation and transparency. So the good thing about blockchain is you can trace it, and it's very secure, but it's also very traceable, and you can't duplicate it. So your vote is your vote, and it's guaranteed to not be manipulated by anyone else. So there's no voter fraud. It's a true democracy, and it's a secure system. Use AI for policy simulation to better predict outcomes of proposed legislation. So now, once this AI technology reaches the next level, maybe AI or AGI right before it, and I don't like the word artificial general intelligence, just general intelligence. But once it reaches that level, it can just tell you the most likely outcome of whatever policy we decide to go with. Like if we choose to do this thing, this is what society looks like. If we choose to do this thing, this is what. So we could say, hey, what should we do to have the best possible outcome for all of society that everybody can be happy with, and it can show us how to do that. Open data initiatives to allow for public scrutiny and innovative solutions, which is a big part of freedom of speech and also open source. That's why I say this technology has to be open source. Otherwise, it could be a dystopian nightmare. If a few companies have the ability to control all of our data and all of our information and basically all of our lives and all business and dictate how this system works, it could be horrible. So so we should all have free speech and open source technology. Environmental protection, aggressive. Which is funny that I got that answer from a company that's a walled garden.
Oh yeah.
Because Anthropic, I don't know. I mean, they seem to be a good company, but who knows? Because they're not open source. So, but it is funny that a non-open source model gave me a suggestion that things should be open source. Environmental protection, aggressive transition to renewable energy, carbon capture technology to address existing emissions, circular economy initiatives to reduce waste and resource consumption. Everything doesn't have to be in an expensive, beautiful package. Like, give me something that I can throw in my garden and it'll biodegrade and feed my plants. You know what I mean? Like that. I don't need the nice packaging. I just need the thing inside the package.
One purpose, like it serves one purpose one time.
Right.
Like
it's such a wasteful, inefficient concept. I do like a good package though, but like when I buy a new Apple product, I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool again. But
you want the box to feel nice.
It's not necessary though. It's kind of it is a waste.
Throw it away for some reason.
Financial system reform. Regulate and integrate cryptocurrencies into the financial system. Implement AI-driven financial advising available to all citizens, which is open source. Simplified tax code and automation tax and automate tax collection to increase efficiency and fairness. Yeah, the tax code is so complicated because it's designed to serve corporations.
Yeah, it's just
and the most
supposed to
powerful.
make it difficult for us.
Yeah, it should just be an automatic thing with our currency. It just,
And it's like, oh, you're going to do it by yourself? Do it right or we will punish you.
yeah, we just need to rework the whole financial system. Social integration. Use VR and AR technology to foster empathy and understanding between different groups, which is cool. Like, you can actually live in someone else's shoes. Like, if you're having an issue with understanding how other people are living and you're so disconnected, you can go into an AR or a VR, not even a simulation. You can go into VR and you can be in some poor family's house with them, experiencing their suffering.
Sad Sims, yeah.
To enhance empathy, and
Yo, I got the new poverty simulator.
Right. Yeah, or maybe you could actually experience poverty for a day. Like, oh, that hurts, because they are us. I do believe that we're all one. We're all just different expressions of the same being, and when someone else is hurting, we should be hurting too, because that person's hurting. I think we lack empathy. Create digital public spaces for community engagement and problem solving. We're so connected now, we can, our communication should be better than ever. Implement AI-driven conflict resolution systems. So that, all those were great ideas. Those are great ideas that most politicians aren't talking about. RFK is the only politician that has even touched on some of those ideas. Most politicians just address symptomatic problems, and they have solutions for symptoms, but they don't have problems. They don't have solutions to solve the problems. I want to hear a politician that says, I want to implement policies that will solve poverty, that will solve homelessness, that will solve drug addiction and mental health issues and all these other issues, gun violence. We need to elect politicians and people that want to make society healthier, not say the things that support corporate ideas and power. And so I think we can do that. And I think we can do that with this technology as long as it stays open source. So I'm very optimistic about it. And I feel like if we can keep this technology open source at the rate it's advancing, that it can really help us solve some of these issues. And I think people, instead of being afraid of it or being against it or being upset because it copies your YouTube channel, I think we should see the broader perspective is, none of my ideas are my own, but all of our ideas are ours collectively. And now we have a way to take all of our ideas and our collective ideas and put them in this one mind, or these powerful minds, and really solve problems and make all of our lives better. And I think that should be our main priority. If you don't want the person that lives in the neighborhood next to yours or down the street from you suffering, then we should share, and we should want to share our ideas and technologies and try to solve those problems. And I think this is the way we can do it. We just have to want a healthy, better society. And if you love spending time with your family and your friends, you love having a healthy body and having a healthy life and a good lifestyle, then I think those are the things that we should strive for everyone. And it's not saying you can't have an abundance and you can't do, as good as you want to do and have, Lamborghinis and yachts and all those things too, because there's definitely benefit in that type of innovation. But we also need to raise the floor in society where we start out, we all start at a healthy level, and we can work out from there, build up from there. And I think eventually we can all be on a really high level collectively.
Because the bottom just keeps getting raised.
Yeah. As this technology exponentially grows, it's like Elon Musk was saying, we won't have a UBI in the future.
Yeah.
We'll have a
eventually it'll be like, oh, you only have 2 Ferraris? You're impoverished.
Right.
Yeah.
We'll have a UHI, which will be a universal high income, because we'll have an abundance of products and services. But anyway, that's I just want to get all that stuff out and share it. And if you guys enjoyed this episode and you want me to keep talking about AI and technology and society and all this stuff, then just let me know in the comments, and I'll keep talking about it. We'll just do it every week. So anyway, I'll see you next week, guys. Thanks.